Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Gwent. So, this week I'm going to be taking a look at a fun little deck. It's not going to be competitive, I will put that right out there from the very beginning. Well, you can imagine because it is a Voorhees deck and it is a Reveal shell anyway. Reveal is kind of low tier 2, maybe tier 3-ish, so I don't know. It's not really built to win necessarily, but it is a ton of fun to pilot. And yeah, let's get into the game, shall we? Let's have a look. The game. Let's get into the deck tech. So, the deck itself is based around Reveal. So, Reveal is Voorhees' ability. So, he reveals 4 cards from either player's hands. So, we use that in order to reveal certain things. In this case, we use it to thin out our golems and to draw a card with the foot soldiers. So, we get a nice little bit of draw and thinning there. But the idea is that in the third round, after we've thinned the crap out of our deck, we almost guarantee that we draw into Ciri Dash. Ciri Dash is an interesting little card. 10 points, loyal, and when this unit enters the graveyard, strengthen it by 3 and shuffle it back into your deck. So, Reveal decks that I've seen up to now tend to use the best possible card that they can get, the highest power card. So it's usually Geralt as his base strength. But I figured with a single discard or a single play of Ciri Dash, if you can get it back into your hand, then you're essentially doing what Geralt does anyway. So it's easy enough to get Ciri Dash discarded or played at one point in the game and find her again. But maybe we can do it twice, or maybe 3 times, and every single time we do that, we add an extra 3 points to Ciri. And if we reveal our 16-point Ciri, for example, then we can use our spotters, who have changed since the last time I played Reveal, which is essentially the main reason why I want to get a new Reveal deck as well, because it is one of my favourite archetypes, even though it is not so popular and not so competitive. But anyway, spotters allow us to choose a reveal card in either player's hand and boost itself by its base power. So if we had a 16-point Ciri Dash, that would mean that these bronzes are 20 points. It's pretty decent. So we can get maybe even 23, 26. We probably won't get anywhere near 26, but 23 is a possibility still. So, how do we work around Ciri Dash? Well, the deck revolves entirely around thinning the deck. It's been built in such a way where by the end of the game, there should be no cards left in your deck. So, I should preface this by saying if you even set up yourself against Mill, you could just concede right then and there. You will get destroyed by Mill because this deck revolves entirely around thinning. So we've got our pikemen, 4 strength units every single turn. At the start of your turn, well, I say after one turn, sorry. Play an Albert pikeman from your deck on the row. So we want to thin out with the Albert pikeman. We want 1 pikeman in our hand in the start of the game so we can get the other 2 out of our deck. We've got Roach, so if we play a gold card that is not our leader, we thin Roach out of our deck. We've got the Imperial Golems, which is whenever we reveal a card from our opponent's hand, you play this card from your deck. You can see a little bit of a synergy here. So we've got 7 cards that we can thin out of our deck just as the game progresses naturally anyway. So Voorhees reveals 4 cards. So you reveal the 3 Imperial Golems. They come out of your deck. You want to make sure that when you do reveal, that you reveal your opponent's cards first before you reveal your foot soldiers, because it does reveal in the order that you select the cards. So you want to reveal your opponent's stuff to thin out the golems before you inevitably reveal a Dalen foot soldiers, which draws you a card. Because if you do this one first, you have a chance of drawing the golems, which will make you sad. So don't do that. And when we reveal Dalen foot soldiers, we draw a card, which therefore cuts down the size of our deck. It's not thinning, but it is drawing, which is effectively going to be the same thing in this case. We then have Marching Orders. Marching Orders boosts the lowest bronze or silver unit in your deck by 2 and then plays it. In most cases, that's going to thin out to grab the Drogodari. Drogodari is a pretty decent utility toolbox card, so we can use Savage Bears, which are 7-point melee units that can damage a unit when it enters the field. If we expect to be swarmed in some way from our opponent's hand, then maybe we can go for that, but the likely case is that you're actually going to go for an Ekimara. Ekimara says it gains resilience and then you consume an ally. So we can use the Ekimara to consume the Siri Dash once we play it in order to kill it, so that we can maybe redraw it in the same round to kill it again, or let it go to the graveyard and then it will go back into our deck. The idea is that Siri Dash is going to be the last card in your deck, or the second to last card, so that when you draw your final card you mulligan into Siri Dash. That's the idea anyway, and we've got plenty of ways to do that. So we've also got a single First Light just to get rid of any gold weathers, but also a Rally to play a bronze unit from our deck. Allows us to thin our deck, so if they do kill our pikeman, we could maybe rally into another pikeman to get the third one out of our deck. A lot of the time we hope to pretty much be using the Rally on spotters in order to get those out, so we'd like to have revealed Siri Dash at that point, so that's a good idea. We've also got Royal Decree. Yet again, more thinning in gold. This particular gold card, though, does a fair bit of thinning. It can thin a maximum of 2 cards out for us, which is pretty sweet. So it plays a gold card from your deck if it is a unit, but not an agent or double agent. Boost it by 2 and shuffle the others back. So we want a Royal Decree, either Leo Bonhart to reveal our Siri Dash, or we want to reveal Avalak in order to draw the last cards to hopefully find Siri Dash. When we do play Royal Decree, we'll thin out Roach as well, so we can use it there. Should note that there is this nice little combo with Johnny and Siri Dash. This is my favourite part of the deck, and any opportunity I can shove Siri Dash and Johnny into a deck, I'm going to take it. It's a nice little janky little combo, which is right where I love to be in gameplay. So, 8 strength, agile unit. You may discard a card from your hand and create a base copy in your hand of a random card of the same colour in your opponent's deck. If there are not any, then you have to keep the card. So we want to essentially discard Siri Dash, which means that she goes to the graveyard, and when she goes to the graveyard, she gets shuffled back into our deck. And because we discarded a gold card, we get to make a copy of one of our opponent's gold cards in their deck. This is why I like Johnny, because it does allow you to play with gold cards that you may not necessarily have on you, which also can sometimes be really useful as well. So we could get a gold weather, we could get Escol to remove a big power unit or something like that. There are so many opportunities for Johnny to be pretty good. He can of course be a little bit of a dud as well. There are golds that just don't really do anything for us. A Royal Decree second time over probably will be a dead card, for example, because we do a lot of thinning. But at the very least, we've discarded Siri Dash, and she's gone back into our deck, so we get that value anyway. We get to add an extra 3 strength to Siri Dash, essentially. Have we got anything left to talk about? Yes, we do. We've got Orcs. So you may notice that there's been a lot of Skellige, more specifically King Bran, going around. And they like to do King Bran into Ceres, Morkvarg, and Olgierd. Orcs is here to disrupt that somewhat. So if they go into the second round with their carryover essentially and pass, we can Orcs their Ceres and either their Olgierd or their Morkvarg, and they will most likely not be coming back ever again. So we get to kill a little bit of King Bran's carryover. We're seeing a lot of that deck right now, so I do think having Orcs in the deck is quite useful. Otherwise, he's just a 7-point silver that doesn't get too much value. If we're against Scoia'tael as well, there is the Dragoons, I think they are, the 7-point units that boost cards in your hand, and there's also Seers as well that get boosted when cards in your hand get boosted. So there are obviously a fair few targets for Orcs, so he's not completely dead if we're not against Skellige, but Skellige is the main reason why he's in here for that particular setup. I think we've pretty much talked about the deck. We've got our Alchemists as well. Alchemist 8 strength reveal units. It's there to either reveal Siri Dash in the third round, but also to reveal our 2 Dale and Foot soldiers. Should say that this deck is perfectly set up to have 0 cards in the deck. As long as you get the right draws at the very beginning of the game, you can get to 0 cards almost guaranteed every single time. So yeah, there is a ton of thinning in the deck, and it can be a little bit hit and miss if you get all 3 of your Imperial Golems, for example, in your starting hand and mulligan them into Alba Pikeman. plus roaches, then you'll be a bit sad, but as long as you mulligan correctly, there shouldn't be too much chance of that really happening and coming back to bite you. Anyway guys, let's go on to the games and I'll show you why this deck is so fun to pilot. Alright, see you later.